Oh. Hello, everyone. Let's see how we look. I got a new chair this week. We are going to be trying out a new prompter system. We are making changes. We are upgrading. Mama, let me upgrade you. I hope that you all have a chance to tune in. I don't know how to share this. Maybe Joe will share this on our Instagram and Facebook pages so that I can get right down to the news. Well, as you can see from my attire, the biggest news this week is Jungle Cruise. Elephants in the jungle. Here we go. That looks a little better. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Oh, and of course, we've got our little Jungle Cruise boat. Excellent. Well, let's come on over here. Welcome to the Park Hopper Daily Weekly Newscast, live from my apartment. It's Thursday night. Tune in each and every week for a roundup of theme park news. Well, Disney news, unless something really major happens in Harry Potter land. And even if nothing interesting happens, don't worry, we will still be bringing you news of some kind, whether it's an in-depth look at a Disney park attraction, resort, dining, anything really. So now let's skip on over to the news. A classic attraction at both Disneyland in California and Walt Disney World in Florida is being rethemed to become more inclusive. Big festival news for Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival, a delay in the refurbishment of a beloved Magic Kingdom ride, and the introduction of a legacy pass holder program on the West Coast. As usual, there is no shortage of Disney news this week, so let's get started. Just as the Walt Disney Co. decided earlier this year it was time to update Splash Mountain due to its obvious roots in the controversial and racist Song of the South, this week the company announced it will also be retooling one of its oldest attractions in an effort to be more inclusive, with an emphasis on diversity. The Jungle Cruise, once an animatronic wonder that has evolved into a tongue-in-cheek attraction on both coasts, will be updated with new storylines, Michael Ramirez, Public Relations Director for Disneyland Resort, announced Monday on the Disney Parks blog. The new adventures, writes Mr. Ramirez, will stay true to the experience we know and love. More humor, wildlife, and skipper heart. And also will reflect the value and the diversity of the world around us. Those trusty and sometimes witty Jungle Cruise skippers fortunately appear here to stay. Quote, as Imagineers, it's our responsibility to ensure experiences we create and stories we share reflect the voices and perspectives of the world around us, said Carmen Smith, Executive Creative Development and Inclusion Strategist for Walt Disney Imagineering. With Jungle Cruise, we're bringing to life more of what people love, the humor and wit of our incredible skippers, while making the needed updates. As part of this story update, we'll get to follow a skipper and his passengers as their journey goes awry, said Kevin Lively, a Disney Imagineer and former Jungle Cruise skipper, in a video released on Monday. That's right, for the first time ever, the skipper role will not only be that of a live, experienced, and witty guide, but also represented by a show figure within the attraction itself. In fact, the expedition will be up a tree, literally, after their sunken boat splits apart and chimps board the wreckage, with monkey business ensuing. I wonder if this update was inspired by the real-life events of a Jungle Cruise boat sinking earlier last year. In a recent article on the D23 website, Jeffrey Epstein writes his take on the update, saying, did you ever wonder who those explorers were or where they came from in that rhino scene? What's their backstory? He continues to explain that these characters will each have their own story, heritage, and profession that has brought them to the Jungle Cruise, and the storyline takes place after they break the most important rule of the attraction, leaving the boat. Jungle Cruise is one of the few attractions remaining that was conceived by Walt Disney himself, and one of the oldest at the Disneyland Resort, opening in 1955. The attraction was open to the public when the doors to Magic Kingdom in Florida were open in October of 1971. It is just the latest attraction to be updated in an effort by the company to be both more sensitive and inclusive. A scene from Pirates of the Caribbean was retooled in 2018 to create Red, changing a scene where women were sold to pirates as property. Yes, that was dated. And it gave Red control of what became known as the redhead scene. Previously mentioned this summer, it was announced that Splash Mountain will be rethemed into a Princess and the Frog attraction in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World resorts. In an interview with D23, Walt Disney World Imagineer Creative Portfolio Executive Chris Beatty said the attraction will not be rethemed around the Jungle Cruise movie starring Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, although it could contain a few Easter eggs giving a nod to the film. No release date has been announced for when this refurbishment will take place, but we'll keep you posted. In Epcot news, food booths and topiary gardens were announced earlier this week for Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival, which will take place March 3rd through July 5th, the longest that festival will have run in its 5-year history. For a complete list of booths and garden exhibits, visit parkhopperdaily.com. Moving over to Magic Kingdom, Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover fans will be disappointed to learn that the refurbishment of that attraction, a personal favorite, has been extended once more through the month of February. Little is known about the refurbishment project, and testing of the attraction has been ongoing, but the People Mover has remained shuttered since early March 2020, meaning it's been almost a year since the public has been able to relax through this beloved attraction. Also nearing almost a year since its closure anniversary is Disneyland, and while West Coast fans anxiously await news about a new annual pass program after the news broke earlier this month that current pass holder program would not be extended, this week Disneyland Resort announced the Legacy Pass Holder program. Guests who held an annual passport when the parks closed in March are eligible for the program, which will offer discounts on merchandise in downtown Disney and Buena Vista Street locations. I guess we have to take what we can get. Lastly, it looks like the Big Blue Pool at Walt Disney World's Art of Animation Resort is officially closed for refurbishment. The adjacent schoolyard spray ground is still open, as are the Cozy Cone and Flippin' Fins pools at the other areas of the resort. The refurbishment is expected to last through April 2021. Now to take a look at your Disney World weather. It's freaking cold! It's 53, but it feels like 50. I would really love to know how that is determined. If it's 53 degrees but feels like 50, doesn't it just mean that it's 50 degrees? I mean, is there just some guy who steps outside and is like, the weatherman told him 53 and he's like, no way. It definitely feels like 50. I don't get it. Anyway, questions from our followers. First of all, please be sure to follow us on Instagram at park_hopper_daily, and you can be featured on our show. I think it's time for some questions. Let's see who's on the line. Caller, can I get our first question?
Yeah, the first question is there any rides that you will not do?
Oh, any rides that I will not do. Thank you, caller. That is a great question. The answer currently is, oh yes. Due to COVID, I am not very comfortable going on any ride that requires waiting online inside for more than 15 minutes or so. Prior to COVID, though, there isn't really a ride that I won't do. Maybe Rock and Roller Coaster, and probably the Teacups or the Alien Spin, but that's just because I don't love spinning. I find that the older I get, the less my stomach and my head can handle things like that. But it has nothing to do with the ride itself or the theming. I think every ride at Disney is perfectly rideable. Wait, I forgot! The worst ride at Disney that definitely should go away or be rethemed, and this is completely my personal opinion and does not I'm not expressing the views of Park Hopper Daily or anyone else affiliated with Park Hopper Daily, but I'm telling you, the Tomorrowland Speedway must be fixed. It is a complete waste of time. The second that you turn 16 or 17 or however old you need to be to get your actual driver's license, the second you can actually drive yourself, that ride becomes utterly pointless. And I'm pretty sure that it feels when you're on the ride like you're going to die of inhalation of all of those disgusting fumes. Missed opportunity alert. How has that ride not been refurbished to be a Cars themed ride? Give us something that looks kind of like the Radiator Springs Racers. That is a ride that I would go on. All right, let's get another question. Caller, are you there?
Yes, hello. What is your favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, my favorite Disney movie? Why, caller, that is a very difficult question. It changes often, but right now in this moment, I'm gonna have to go with Alice in Wonderland. I run a theater company called Our Fabulous Variety Show. Shout outs to Kasha. And we have told our own version of Alice in Wonderland several times. The story is very near and dear to my heart. The Disney version is just trippy enough. And yeah, I would have to say Alice in Wonderland. Caller, I think it's time for our third question.
Okay, what made you fall in love with Disney?
What made me fall in love with Disney? Well, for that, I think we're going to have to take a quick tattooer. This was my first colorful tattoo, Disneyland. And right underneath it, if you can see, maybe I'll post some pictures of this later, that is my grandfather's signature right there. He was a great grandfather. I won't speak to anything else about the man, but he was a wonderful grandfather to me, and he retired from Disneyland. He worked there in the upholstery and furniture design division, and because of that, and because he retired from Disneyland in California, he had a golden pass, or whatever they call it when you retire from Disney, and you can go all the time and get people in for free. So I think the first time that I went to Disneyland, I was 1 month old, maybe 2 months old, and we went at least every other year. If not, we tried to get over there to California to visit our family once a year, and we would I never knew anything about California outside of Anaheim and Disneyland. I don't even think we made it to the beach until I was in high school, and I was like, oh, Venice, oh, this is cool. Still haven't really gone anywhere outside of the LA area, but my mom was also she worked at Disneyland when she was in high school. They got to do it for high school credit. Like she got to work at Disneyland and get paid. I'm sure not a lot, it's Disney, but she got paid and she got credit for, I think, history and PE, and she was in the parades. She was in the parades during the bicentennial. Shout out Sylvia Boyer. Love you, mama. And she was on a rotation, and she draw the lucky straw or whatever, however they picked who got to be the boy who rang the Liberty Bell in the ultimate parade. This was the bicentennial parade that was performed for the Emperor of Japan. She loves telling this story. She tells it better than I do. Well, she lived it. But she has a certificate that says that she got to perform for the Emperor of Japan, which is so cool. And I still have the bicentennial plate up on display. I was so fortunate to be able to take my grandfather for his very last trip to Disneyland. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But before he did, we went to Disneyland, and I had gone a couple days prior to work out the details. But one of his big projects that he was so proud of was he got to do the reupholstery for the Lily Bell, which is the VIP caboose of the Disneyland Railroad. And if you know Walt Disney, if you know anything about Disneyland, you know that the number one attraction to Walt Disney was, and the thing that he loved so much, it was railroads. That he had a railroad set in his backyard. People were always coming over, and he would give them little rides around on this little train set. So the VIP caboose of this train was a very big deal in the parks, and you had to be like Johnny Depp level to ride in it. But when the railroad was out of commission for a few years, they had the Lily Bell available for people to be able to go on and see, the normal people, the little people like us. But I arranged to have my grandpa be able to go on there, and I have a whole 45-minute video that I shot. I just hit record and just recorded the whole thing of him sitting in there, and some of the cast members joined us, and everyone just wanted to hear all of his stories. And his favorite line to tell, he had worked for another upholstery designer, and he got fired. I have no idea why. I mean, there's many reasons, but that's not the point. The point is that when Disney called his former employer to get a recommendation, the employer said, he's a Mickey Mouse upholsterer. And they were like, great, that's what we're looking for. So anyway, he got hired, he worked there, he retired from there. And yeah, Disney runs in my veins. Oh, I think we have time for one more call. Caller?
Hello, yes, okay. Your optimal Disney resort to stay in doesn't matter the cost.
Doesn't matter the cost. Well, okay. I'm going to give you 3 answers. I'm going to give you the super hypothetical, probably not realistic, but I mean, maybe you have more money than God. So I'm going to say at its peak, after summer 2021, when all the refurbishments are done and it's opened again, my number one that I really want to stay at is the Hawaii Concierge Club building at the Polynesian Resort. So if I'm not just going by resort, if I'm going by actual, I get to pick the room, I get to pick where I'm staying, I would say the concierge level in Hawaii at the Polynesian. Maybe not right now, while we're still dealing with COVID and a lot of the concierge amenities are not available, but I'm talking peak concierge, free food, free drinks, anytime you go. They can hook you up and help you out with all of your meal plans. I'm sure it's great view. Let's say fireworks are happening, which they're not right now, but I'm saying in the future when fireworks come back, I'm sure you have a great view of the fireworks. That's gonna be my number one pie in the sky. Well, I mean, maybe number one should be the castle suite, but that's not something that you can book. I actually brought this over. I don't know if there's a little glare, but I'm gonna go like this. This is Mickey and Minnie at the Riviera Resort, which is gonna be answer number 2, because right now in the time of COVID, I think that Riviera Resort is the number 1 resort to stay at on property, because they have the best transportation to the 2 best parks during the time of COVID, in my opinion. So when you're staying at the Riviera, you can take the Disney Skyliner to Epcot or Disney Hollywood Studios, which is super convenient and safe because it's just 1 party per pod. So you get to go up in your own little Skyliner all by your lonesome and not have to worry about the monorail that they're now apparently trying to squeeze 4 parties on 1 car. No, thank you. That's why they call it the COVID rail among cast members. And I would say for option number 3, just to give you a couple different options, I would say the Contemporary, because we stayed at Grand Floridian, Polynesian, and the Contemporary, and I really felt like the Contemporary offered the most options as far as dining and entertainment and ease of transportation out of all of the resorts that we stayed at. Well, I think that's all that we have time for. As always, thank you so much to our news editor-in-chief and my Park Hopper Daily partner, Catherine Manu, for a beautiful script that I only tweaked slightly. For daily news updates, be sure to check out our website, parkhopperdaily.com. And thank you to our correspondents in the parks for sending us photos while we're not home. We're home, but we're not at our home. You know what I'm talking about. To Jamie, you can follow him. He's on Instagram at Jim Disney. To John, you can follow him on Instagram. He's John the Diz Guy. To Kungaloosh crew, Marie, thank you so much for those delectable photos of the Epcot International Arts Festival. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much to our questions from Instagram. Thank you to Joe Pallister for just basically putting up with me all the time and helping me with all of these crazy projects. And to you, thank you for tuning in. Have a magical day.
Sounded good.
Was that okay?
Yeah.
I needed to blow my nose and sneeze so bad that entire time.